Hello.
Good morning.
So we thought we're gonna do a talk today about security, the need for security in relationship, and so the way I want to start with where do we start?
Well, I want to start with the thing that I shared with you on Thanksgiving night, which was I realized that there's this way that I see myself performing Sasha, like doing like the right Sasha to show up with you. I do it other places in my life too, but specifically the admission that I made is I notice where I'm performing myself for you, and I'm doing it in order to like maintain.
Where did that? Do you remember when you noticed that during the party?
I think I noticed it in the couple of days prior. I don't think there was a specific moment in the party, but I think I felt the impulse during the party to play a certain way with you, or to like less for other people and more like to have the affirmation from you that like you will stay connected. You know, that's my fear, is like you won't like something and then we'll feel disconnected.
Yeah. I want to be like less a TV moderator here and more actually just you and I have a conversation, and this is recording.
Okay. This is not comfortable. There's not enough room for my knee.
I can move a little back. Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, for me, when it came up was like I talk to people, or I just do my regular conversation with people that like is often somewhat like confronting for people, and I talk about things that, I mean, you know how I talk, and the thought that came up for me was like, I remember one of the thoughts was like, like Sasha will think like I will always blow up every party, and like I'm not able to like hold conversation in a social space that like will generate friends, and eventually you will be like fed up with me because of that. Like you'll be eventually like you know, like I saw this argument that is kind of like, this is why we can't have friends, this is why we can't have nice things, and like that kind of thing. And eventually you'll be like fed up with it, which then leads me to like, like I'm withholding something that like I want to actually, like the way I really want to talk, the way I really want to speak, and what I feel important to say is like then inhibited. And I think there's like something like when we were invited, and then like one of our friends basically was like, these might be good clients. It's like this is a similar spot. Like then I come into the conversation with these newfound people, and there's something where I'm like, I need to say it in this particular way, or right. I need to speak, or I need to like, while I speak, I need to comfort them. I need to make sure that they feel okay while I'm talking with them, even if I say something confrontational. Like I have to do it while I'm also giving them comfort, which like comes from my attachment that like now I have this idea that they will be my clients.
Right.
So I'm not being myself anymore, but I'm a presentable version of myself.
Totally.
That I think will have them be able to accept me, or it's a pure imagination that like I think this is a presentable version of myself and this is not a presentable version of myself.
Yeah.
And it happens between me and a potential client, or me, someone I want to like me, or it happens also between you and me because I'm attached to my family.
I like my experience of noticing this in myself was like, first I could see it with strangers. Like somebody would be like, how's it going? I'd be like, good, like, well, I'm not going to know them very long, so I don't need to be honest, or I don't need to like, doesn't matter if they really see me, or like if I feel like met in the conversation, I just need to like be like a nice person and get through the conversation. And I was like, oh wow, like that's not really what I would say if I knew that person and they were like, how are you doing? I would say something really different. And so I noticed myself doing it there. And this was like weeks ago or months ago. I like started to see how much I was like even caretaking of somebody I didn't know. Like they would like bump me or like get close to Amma or something, and then they would say like, I'm sorry, and then I would like spend a lot of energy reassuring them that they were okay. And it's like really codependent thing that I do. And I started to just like see it frequently with strangers, and I was really tracking how often I was like taking care of someone that I didn't know and was never going to see again, like taking care of their emotions, taking care of their response, like reassuring them that they were good and that I wasn't holding upset with them. And I was like, wow, I'm spending a lot of energy on this with people I don't know. And then suddenly I had this moment one day where I started to notice doing it with people that I'm connected to. And in that moment, like I could see myself doing it with you too. But it was like, at first it was way less conscious with people I know, because I think the way I was doing it was more subtle, or like like you said, like my attachment to them, like feeling good with me, or feeling like me being liked by them, or like them not disconnecting from me. Like in my head, it doesn't show up as, I think a lot of people name this as like fear of abandonment, and like it doesn't feel like that for me. It's more like fear of somebody like withholding the like love and connection between us. Like that's just the language that makes more sense in my body, right, saying it. And like
is it a certain state that you want to not get blemished or get like a hit on? Like if they bump into your child and you wouldn't say like they are okay, you didn't do anything wrong,
right,
like what would be the uncontrollable response that they would bring out?
Yeah, like I think this is such a weird thing, but like it's a lot of projection, right? It's like I think I'm projecting myself into that person and being like, if I was them, I would feel guilt and shame. And me being really afraid of them carrying away guilt and shame from the interaction with me, and like going out of my way to like reassure them that I'm not upset.
I see. So
even when I would be upset at taking care of the other person, like way outside of.
So you'd be upset, like that's the reality, like that they would get created. It's like they think you are upset and they stay like out of your way. So like to reassure them and make sure that they like really taken care of, it helps you keep them close.
Yeah, and I feel like this happens for me in like a short social interaction. Like I end up getting into like a little miniature conversation with someone, like miniature, like a 2 to 5 minute so it happens a lot actually with our son Amma, because he goes up to people that we don't know and he strikes a conversation with a total stranger in a public place, like in a coffee shop, and he's suddenly like talking with someone, and like he's little and he's cute and he's connectable, and like I think this is part of his like
but he's also like he pushes He pushes boundaries with his being.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the instances where people feel magnetized to him, like really drawn to like continue to connect with him. And in those circumstances, I feel as his care provider, I feel like responsible to be present in the conversation, to like know what's going on, to like read the other person and also read him, and like find the right, I mean, maybe this is a whole other topic, but like find the right like I just feel like I want to be, like, because he's a child, I want to be, like, present and, like, aware of what's happening so that he's safe, primarily. And then inside of that desire, me wanting my child to be safe, I'm then, like, navigating what's happening with the other person, and, like, I'm in this sort of short exchange, talking to them, sharing with them. Explaining, like, and
justifying,
like doing all kinds of things. And I feel like some way midpoint in the conversation, I'm like, wow, I'm like really like spending a lot of hard-earned energy for what?
Yeah, that's,
and like
that's the thing.
Questioning myself, starting right in the middle of the conversation. Oh, now I'm like knee deep in this interaction with someone, and like, what am I here for? Like, am I even enjoying this? Like, it takes me a moment to drop in and be like, what's actually right for me? And feel like, where is the real Sasha inside of the performance, inside of the like, good mom, right? I perform good mom. I do this with other mothers at the playground. I have to like show them that I'm doing a good job with my kid, that I'm aware of like how my kid is with their kid. And it takes me actually quite a while into knowing someone before I'm willing to be like messy mom, angry mom, like bad mom, like mom who makes a mistake in front of another mother or parent, right? I'm really taking stock of like their judgment and what they think about me in every little tiny breath in front of someone. And it's like, it's unconscious, and like it's just coming to more consciousness for me. But like I've done it for years unconsciously.
I want to share this, like, what happened yesterday. Like, it's a more simple version of the same thing, basically. Like, we laid, I have to lay this because I just told it to you. I wasn't going to repeat myself again. But,
it's okay.
So we, like, laid in bed, and we were both sick. And the thing that, like, felt most, like, the thing that I like to do is, like, watch a silly show, and usually I do that by myself because I've never been actually like sick at the same time that you've been sick. And so I watched a little bit by myself, and then eventually you come, and it's not the kind of show that you like to watch, but we kind of agreed to like watch it together. And so I lay there and find myself like all of a sudden like in the place where I usually really relax and I'll like, letting go because I'm watching my comforting show. I'm all of a sudden like a little bit more tense, and you lay on my chest, and I can notice my body not being fully like relaxed, and I'm like laughing and giggling uncomfortably about jokes that I don't usually laugh about. Like, I don't usually lay there and like laugh all the time about this show, but it's like all of a sudden kind of uncomfortable laughing. And I'm like justifying the show. I'm like, oh, this episode is not as good as usual, or like as the other ones. You like come in the wrong moment. And it's like, the thing that happens is like, letting you really see me. Like, there is a form of like performance that we tap into with our partner, with you, where like I am just a little bit putting on a show. Like, I am a little bit self-conscious. Like, the way I put on my clothes is a little bit different to when I'm just by myself. And
you mean like what you choose to wear, or how
what I choose to wear, the way I would put them on, you know, like the way I conduct myself in a space is like slightly more controlled. And then with this show, you know, like, it's actually like the reason why is like I'm actually a little bit embarrassed about watching this show, and it's a cartoon, and it's like not as manly or not as like I mean, like, I don't think in form of manly, but it's just like, it's not the persona, the type of persona that I want you to see. And I think that happens in like so many different places that we put on. I
just noticed that you're not saying the name of the show right now. Is that on purpose?
Yeah, I don't want to name the show.
Okay. Because you don't want to like introduce that topic.
No, probably for the exact same reason.
Okay, I just wanted to say it out loud.
I mean, there's like something going on here too. Like, I feel how both of us are actually like talking more moderated right now than when we are just the two of us talking with each other. And I would like to find a way to drop into more of a conversational space that is actually disregarding the camera. But I also noticed the thought in me that is like, oh, someone who watches doesn't have the background of everything that we've said, which is, again, it's actually ridiculous, because like, you meet a person in the moment,
right,
and we don't need them to know the background of all of our experiences to be able to connect with us. And I think this is kind of like the point of the subject here is why are we doing this? It's like there is some form, if I perform a particular way, that like I do that because with acting, with changing how I am seen, I manipulate you, or I think I manipulate you into sticking around. Because if I show you really who I am, like this like Rick and Morty watching slob who like rarely changes his clothes, I mean, like, you started to like see that and like accept it. And
oh, I know, because I do the laundry.
Right. It's like, I fear that is not acceptable. And I think the earlier on in a relationship that we are, the more of these masks and performances do we still have on, because ultimately we want to show the other person this particular shiny version.
In the beginning of the relationship, we have more masks. And as you go on, you sort of like strip them off more and more.
Well, let's hope that's the case.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm
saying. Clarify, because I didn't understand.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay. That's another thing, just to name, because it's alive for me in this exact moment. I wouldn't normally like, well, wait, what did you mean if I was like in front of a camera? Because I don't want to show that I don't always get it, or I think that other people won't get what you're saying, and I don't want to like interrupt you or like make you feel like you're wrong or I'm stupid or whatever. Like there's a fear of allowing myself to be like, wait, I didn't understand that.
Right, like you are comforting me
by like understanding when I didn't quite get it.
Right, because you don't want to like trigger something in me and then all of a sudden I get weird and distant from you.
Right.
Which is like, that's the thing. It's like for me, it's like I don't want to have you fully see my like addict, like slob human inside, you know? Because I fear that that's actually like, you will reject that.
Yeah. Can I say something about this?
Sure.
That's like in my back of my head. Something that comes up for me when you're talking about this topic is, well, so like let's say, for example, the laying down and like watching shows, which we both do when we're like, oh, we need rest, we need recovery, and like I think that we do it a lot less than many people. Like, we don't watch TV every night, you know? And I think both of us in certain parts of our identity are like, to do our work and be of service in the world. Like, we don't just want to like go into the comfort of watching a show to like numb out the feelings and like get away from.
Right.
There's that whole piece,
yeah,
which
for
we
us,
didn't even
like
go into here.
Watching a show, it happens maybe like once every 2 weeks.
And so there's something in me, and maybe this is related to my perfectionism, but when you're talking about this part, I'm like, wait, last week, like, the rule, which I put you as like the rule maker, and I'm like, Moritz has the rules, and I have to like follow his rules to be good, to be a good woman, to be a good wife, to be liked by. Right now the rule is like, we're not having shows, or we're not watching, and then like suddenly it's like a day where we're resting, and then you are, and I think like, just as you're talking about this, I feel relief sometimes in being like, oh, there's like, both exist, right? The like, we don't want to go to comfort and like always be asleep and like always just stay on Netflix for our whole life, but we also like value feeling our feelings and being present to what's happening. And like, just as you're speaking about this, there's something in me that's like, feeling like validated that I feel we're both exist in me. And like, I have a lot of fear about doing it wrong and needing to memorize your rules so that I'm showing up to be likable by you. Like, if I know your rules and I'm anticipating them and like doing them without you saying them out loud, then I have value.
Can we go a notch deeper into that? Because I think the real conditioning is like is actually the structure that lays underneath that.
Yeah.
And I think there's a way in which like you
say more about structure.
Like the structure of conditioning. Like today it's like, are we doing the show thing right? And tomorrow it's like, are we doing the working thing right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And the subject of the day is sort of like dictated by my conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
My conditioning dictates the subject, and your conditioning dictates the like your conditioning is like, am I doing this right in relation to the judgment of my husband?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't do it right to my judgment,
right,
then you are afraid that if you don't get it right, I will get upset.
Yeah.
And I will say like, blah, 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 this, and we pick a fight, which is again the same, like you are afraid of creating a disconnection between you and I.
Mm-hmm.
And you've become like, your conditioning has like learned to master
changing shape
that pleases me.
Mm-hmm. Or pleases anyone, and definitely with you, because you're my person.
Well, pleases the other person outside.
Yeah. What is it? Can you go back to your conditioning and subject? I didn't.
Yeah, my conditioning.
Say that again.
My conditioning is like. This is a little harder for me to see, obviously, but my conditioning is something around like the reason why it changes shape for me is like I need to be really close to what I feel right now.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always a like, what I feel is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that's like true for a lot of men. It's like, what I feel is wrong. Like, feelings are not allowed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, toughen up, or like be a better version. This like thriving for being better, like
mm-hmm.
the superhero, or like the more successful businessman. Like
mm-hmm.
there's like, I think for a man the conditioning is the ambition to become something better than they are.
Mm-hmm.
And that comes because like I'm thinking of like an animal that like performs like its little like dance of like romance to the female mm-hmm. animal. It's like, look at my beautiful feathers, like I need to be prettier than mm-hmm. the other bird, you know? It's kind of a little bit like that, and that's always active. Like I can't lay that down. That's mm-hmm. my conditioning says like I need to perform and make myself attractive, mm-hmm. because if I really show my true colors, you will be like, that's not enough in the totality of measuring you against all the other men around. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
And I think this measurement is really important because like ultimately there's a merry-go-round of reflection that happens because I have inside a Sasha that judges me all the time, mm-hmm. which is not Sasha, it's me.
Right.
It's a thought that I have created that is constantly watching me. Is this is this acceptable? Is this approvable?
Yeah, you talked about that in this dream where you dreamed that like you were holding Amma on the skate park or something, and you like dropped him, and there was like Sasha was there judging you,
Right?
And she was like, you shouldn't have done that, and then you talked about acknowledging that was you having that judgment of yourself, but in the dream it was like it was me there, like being angry at you that he died or he got injured.
Right, because in a dream it's very clear, like, you're not there. It's my imagination of you being there.
Such a good example of like, I mean, I have that in me. I have a version of you too that I know isn't you. I hear it like in the grocery store, like, only buy the glass bottle, nothing with plastic. Don't bring home any plastic, right? And then I'm like, but it also has to be vegetarian, and it also has to be cheap, and it also has to be, you know, like, not imported, but like not a fake American version, and like it has to be good quality, but not like. And then I'm like, and then I come home with like, there's 3 things in the cart, and then you're like, what is this grocery shop? You didn't bring any food home, and I'm like, well, I spent a lot of time arguing in my head with the pretend Moritz. That's me. That's like, I also don't want plastic and don't want bad quality. And then like, and then my fear keeps me from like, I mean, that's such a good example. My fear.
I don't even know if that's true.
What?
That you don't want plastic and all these other things. That's the question. That's, I think, something interesting to investigate. Is that actually yours? Is that actually really what you want? Or if you were standing in the supermarket and you were just like, what do I want? Right? Which is really a hard exercise to do.
Really hard.
It's like, because we are so movable by the internal image of, and I wanna say that, like, this is always what I mean by, like, when I say image, like we have. It's more actually like a movie than an image, but often. But I have created a mini version of you inside me, which is like it's like a tape recorder. It like plays a certain pattern out. Yeah. But it's not you.
Right.
And it's, for me, it's like, that is always, it's limited because it can never really like represent, like, if I'm like, oh, this is what Sasha likes, and I have like memorized a certain scheme of colors and a certain scheme of like no plastic and a certain scheme of like vegetarian, it's like it's a replica of you based on things I have memorized.
Yeah.
And it can't change.
Right.
Unless I get new input from you.
Right.
And memorize an additional thing to it. Right?
And I think we memorize those things because our human conditioning, I think we both have this, is like, I need to remember what the important values are of this person who is part of my connection, part of my safety. Like, on an animal level, this is hard to dismantle.
Can we try to dismantle it? I think we can.
In this moment?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can try.
I think so. This videotape of you, okay, is a memory that I have collected in interactions with you that is now being replayed. Yeah, sometimes so good that I even think it's really you.
Yeah.
Because in the moment also, like that gets projected on top of you.
Yeah.
Which has me really not see you.
Yeah.
I think you are these things. Like, you are like the plastic stuff and the vegetarian, like identities, basically. I've memorized your identities.
Yeah.
And they are now solid. But you and I know that, like, there's a different place from which we can live that is actually like, that interacts with more felt sense intelligence that keeps breaking those patterns. And that's why it's so highly unsuccessful. Like, you try to like really be good at like memorizing my pattern, but like, you know me, I'm like, I like to change shape, and all of a sudden I'm very different.
Right.
And same for you. Like, it doesn't always work because it's limited. But I think so. I question, why are we even creating this
version
image
of each other
yes.
in our heads?
Yes.
Well, I think I just said my opinion of why.
What was that?
The human condition of like...
Condition. What do you mean by that?
Conditioning.
Conditioning. Or conditioning.
Human conditioning of like, I need to be in the pack to be safe. And like, in order to stay in the pack, I have to not be rejected.
Yes.
And in order to not get rejected by the pack, I have to know it's important to my other pack animal.
Yeah.
Like, I have to...
Predict.
No idea humans are actually pack animals. That's just something that I connect.
Okay.
But like...
well, you can leave that away. You can leave that away if you're not certain about it.
So, but like, what I understand in myself is like this fear that like, if I'm not in connection, then I feel, if I'm not in connection to you, if you don't like who I show up as and like what I bring to the table, then I have the potential to lose the relationship. Yeah. That's really what it comes down to. Yeah. And like, lose the family, lose the safety, lose the provider. Like, I depend on the things that you provide. Even with all of my complaints and judgments and entitlement and whatever. Like, it's still like, oh my God, if you weren't... Like, I have that thought. If you weren't here, how long could I keep doing the living style we have without you? Right? Yeah. That's my fear that comes up all the time. And it's very real, because for me, it's not just like, well, if you don't love me and then I don't have this. It's like, if you're physically not here for whatever reason,
you'll starve to death.
I won't have what I need. Like, I'll starve, I'll freeze, I'll like, and I think it goes back to that for a lot of people. And then like the line that how you get there is different, but like, it feels very literal. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like I perform this, I create this video, this image, because I think it will keep me safe. Right. It will have me perform. It helps me perform in a way that has you not reject me or go away. So I'm like, it's a pattern that keeps me secure. At least I think it keeps me secure. I think with this pattern I can control you into staying close. Right.
Which is not true.
Which is not true, right? Yeah. Like I could go out, like, and here's other patterns that will commingle with this, which like causes the mass to get more complicated. But like I could go out and I could be ran over by a car. So let's have some insurance for that. Hold on. The water just unfroze.
You can hear it?
I could hear it, yeah.
Oh. And is that faucet on?
The faucet was on, yeah. Or like I could go out and fall in love with another woman, and so okay, let's create the security of a monogamous relationship, monogamous marriage, where the rule is you're not allowed to talk with other women, or like
no flirting,
exactly, or like you wear a burqa or anything.
That would be a different game.
But it comes out of that pattern.
Yeah.
And then like also a multitude of like patterns of like, here's how I act and make myself look and talk and walk and laugh that pleases you to the point where like I think you're gonna like me and you're gonna stay. That's a security pattern. Yeah. But the reality is like they are unsuccessful to a certain degree. Like they limited, and like we see in the world how many relationships.
Hold on, I haven't all the way back from the burqa. Sorry, I just need a moment. No, I like went on to another track and I'm not with you.
It's confronting because we see like we are all the same.
Control. The control and the like...
Control is common to everybody.
Yeah, and the illusion of like, if nobody else gets to see my partner fully, then I'm the only one that gets this special... That's what I project onto it. I have no idea what that's really like for somebody whose cultural tradition that is. Like, okay. Keep going.
But we see how it's unsuccessful. It's unsuccessful. This pattern. We see it when we work with people. How like these patterns are actually in the way of them truly having what they want in their relationship, which then leads them to cheat, or which then leads them to walk out on each other because they're like so restricted. Because they've
conformed themselves into something that they don't really agree with, and ultimately, like the pain of that. I mean, I think it takes people a long time. I think people sit in that pain of constricting themselves into something that they're not for like, I'll just finish raising my kids for the next 18 years and then I'll go be myself. Like, that is a sad fact that I think a huge percentage of our at least Westerners are doing that. Mm-hmm. And like, I mean, we've seen a lot of people talk to us about their experience of that.
Right. I would go so far that the pattern itself, creating the pattern itself, is the reason why, like the pattern itself is what blows up the intimacy and connection. Like it's like when we are in the, like we came together because we wanted to be connected. Mm-hmm. And we create the pattern because we want to protect the connection. Mm-hmm. But the pattern itself is the very reason why we cannot be connected.
Yeah, I see that.
Because the moment I am acting in the pattern, I'm not interacting with you, but I'm interacting with an image of you, which means like I'm literally just interacting with myself.
Yeah.
So we two people seemingly being connected, but we are actually just self-absorbed.
Yeah.
Absorbed by our self-images.
Yeah.
Right? So we're not connected.
Yeah. Totally. But seeing that, I think, is hard for people.
Very hard.
It's also like we can see it in this moment, and like it doesn't mean that I'm gonna walk out of this conversation and then like hold on to that all day and
that's like, what I meant.
Slip out back into it.
That's what I meant last time, because you remember you said like, oh, I've seen this so many times and I still do it. I still keep doing it.
And what was what you meant?
Well, right now we are at the point where we see the pattern, mm-hmm. and we have a clear understanding of the pattern, mm-hmm. but we haven't yet penetrated into a different way of being. So all we will do from this point, if we stop the conversation here, is mm-hmm. like, well, yeah, that's the pattern. We memorize it. Mm-hmm. And then that thought just becomes a shaming thought against the pattern. Mm-hmm. So now it's like, well, I'm never connected. I'm always stuck in this pattern. Look at me. Bad.
That's what you're saying I'm saying right now.
Yeah, because we haven't yet fully gone all the way.
Okay.
There's a next step that like actually has to happen for us to be not in the pattern anymore. Right now it's just like, yeah, this is the pattern, we see it.
Okay, what's the next step?
But the knowing of the pattern is not the exiting of the pattern.
What is the exiting of the pattern?
So we do this in order to be safe, in order to be secure. Mm-hmm. So it means like we create the image of, you create the image of me, I create the image of you, because I want to be safe. But what am I now?
I'm not safe?
Yes. So I'm doing this because I'm moving away from something. Mm-hmm. I'm moving away from something in myself. A feeling.
Yeah.
What is that?
Safety.
No, that's what I'm moving towards.
I don't get what you're saying. I need you to come back to like
where am I?
This, that, what am I doing, place in my... I don't get it. You lost me.
So can we go back to an example?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have one?
How about like whether or not I buy an item that has plastic in it in the grocery store?
Right. So like you stand there and you're like wrestling with yourself, is this the right thing or that the right thing?
Mm-hmm.
And you're looking at the item and measuring it against like an imaginary Moritz,
mm-hmm.
who's like somewhat like standing there with like a raised finger saying like, this is gonna kill
me. Why did you buy this? Like, this is full of plastic. This is so stupid. What were you thinking? Like, what? This is like, now we have to keep all this garbage in our home because we don't want to kill the turtles.
Uh-huh.
I don't want to kill the turtles either.
So it's like...
This is a good one for me because I'm like, is it yours or is it mine? I'm not sure that it's... You're like, well, maybe that's not yours. I'm not sure that it's not mine. I think it is partly mine too. I think that's why I struggle with it. Because I project it's all you and like, I can't have the little nori... sushi papers that I and Amma like so much, and like then I like blame you for not getting to buy the thing I wanted at the grocery store. But I have the same qualm. Like I think I actually also have an issue with buying plastic.
Yeah. So there's two images in that moment. There's the one image that is like the Moritz who's like he's gonna like be upset with you, and you see that one, like you pick up the item and the moment like you have a flash of a Moritz who is upset at you for buying this thing, and then you're like no I don't want that.
Yeah.
And then you are like, you also see a Moritz who's like, good job, well done for making a different choice, right? And then you gravitate towards that. And you will put down what you want and you will pick up another item that you think is more pleasurable.
Yeah.
And more pleasing.
Yeah.
So you move away from the thing where like, you move away from the direction where you fear conflict, and you move and you condition your action into something that you think will be approvable and less conflict. Now, that comes back to, we can simplify this into like, the good one is pleasurable to you and the bad one is something you don't like, which is conflict. And that conditions your action. Because you are afraid of the conflict and you are pleased, but you please yourself by non-conflict.
Yes, in this situation, yes. I think generally I wouldn't agree with that statement, but I hear you.
Well, let's say it's like, it's more pleasurable to not have conflict with me.
Yes.
And it's less pleasurable to be in conflict with me.
Yes.
Which as well, like, responds to my memory. Like, I know this way I can have the pleasurable non-conflict again. So it's like the whole thing is a structure of like I rather gravitate towards what's pleasurable. And I'm avoiding the conflict. Because, and it's in that I'm moving away. I'm moving away from something that's a potential threat.
Yeah, okay.
And that fear of that threat is what conditions my action.
Yeah. Sure.
But you're not fully agreeing.
Well, I'm just like not sure where we're going with this now. Like we see the pattern, and like seeing the pattern isn't the final step. There's like something else to do.
Coming closer.
So like I'm still just like, okay, like it's not sunk in for me.
I'm approaching it a little slower.
Okay, I'm just turn the heat off. I just want to name that I'm starting to feel conscious about the time.
I think you were getting uncomfortable because we're approaching something.
Both for sure.
Thanks. What I wanna see is, can we increase feeling what we're talking about? I know I'm talking, but I want you to feel the path of what we're drawing for yourself. Not have it be like you're just listening to me and I'm telling you.
Yeah, I definitely am uncomfortable. I can acknowledge that's true. I'm also conscious of the time. I think I'm holding both.
Because you don't want to run into a conflict with your mom, who's taking care of the kid.
Yes.
So can you bring them together? Because you're just...
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do right now.
I know.
Okay? I'm trying to bring them together.
Okay.
It's hard for me.
Yeah, thank you.
So something else that comes up for me here, which I cannot not say, is like, what about the people that would argue something in me projects this onto them? I'm naming it them, but it's part of me. So make it
yours. You argue.
So what about... I don't want it to be mine because I would feel ashamed that this is mine.
Okay, just step into it anyway, would you? Make it yours.
Try.
You are a representation of all of these other people. That's basically just it.
Okay, so like the voice that says, well, yes, like I need to avoid conflict because conflict traumatized me, and now I don't want to go back into my trauma, so I need to protect that part of myself.
Yes.
That was traumatized by being in conflict.
Right.
And so like therefore...
And what is the trauma?
Like if the choice is between conflict and non-conflict, I'm saying, yes, I choose non-conflict. And it isn't 100% of me that says this, which is why I have such a hard time claiming it, because I actually feel both in myself. I feel the choosing non-conflict and I feel the choosing conflict, and I see goodness in both of them.
Yeah.
So I think what did you just ask me? I didn't hear.
I think there is a... I think you're... Yeah, you're stepping further right now. You're stepping further into a representational mind that is actually not just about you, but it's like we can act, when you get to this nucleus of this, to the center of this, what you're starting to feel is actually not just the experiences that you had, but all the experiences that humanity has actually imprinted into your DNA and into your mind.
Totally.
Like you can feel like when I get to my core fears, I can feel the Holocaust effects inside me, or the burning of the witches and the sages.
I feel so grateful to hear you say this, because I feel like sometimes you're like, no presence, and you like don't admit how much those things that are in the future and the past and like outside of us actually are in here. And I like, it's so hard for me when I feel like you're so detached from that. Thank you for acknowledging it.
Mm-hmm. I think they are... all those incidences have... like the brain that we have came pre-packaged with this, because every incident left a mark in the brain.
Yeah. Which
then got born into it got passed on. Like the same, it's a part of evolution.
A fly just...
Yeah. It's a part of evolution, right? Like the same way that like maybe we had 4 fingers and eventually like another finger, because more and more people gave the need to the body that it needs to grow another finger, and eventually it does so.
That blows my mind. But okay, yeah.
Yeah, like the body starts to adjust to the life circumstances.
Uh-huh.
And including the brain is the first thing that starts to change. So we have access to past memories. I personally don't believe in this, in reincarnation myself. I don't know about it. But what I know is my mother has given me a brain that was part of her body.
Yeah.
Meaning...
That's what I'm talking about.
Right. I'm not saying reincarnation doesn't exist. I'm just saying like I don't have evidence for it. So that's all. That's why I'm like want to keep it out of it.
I wasn't even bringing up reincarnation.
Yeah. But it touches on that.
Sure.
But let's go back to that. All of these things are true, okay? Like, I want to avoid the conflict because of the collection of memories that are telling me to avoid it.
Yeah, totally. Yes. Because
the memories basically are like evidences that I'm not safe going for it.
Yeah.
And that I need to perform in this way.
Yeah, because like literal experience that like I will be killed for conflict. Like conflict will literally end my life.
Yes. I have to see that like there is I'm not able to interact from intelligence, but I'm interacting from memory, meaning like the past experiences prompting me to react out the same pattern.
Mm-hmm.
And the pattern is what keeps me safe.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to see that. I have to recognize that even the thought of death as a consequence isn't the actuality right now, but it is part of my own memories.
Yeah.
And that recognition is what disillusions, is what is like, oh, that death is the illusion.
The projected death is the illusion.
Projected death is the illusion.
Okay.
Coming from the background of my experiences and all the experiences of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I see that, I can have the courage to step into the thing that is uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And when I step into that thing that's uncomfortable in your form, you literally have to step into the rejection.
Yeah.
You have to step into the willingness of being rejected.
Yeah.
Burned alive, decapitated, whatever it is that comes up for one.
Neither of those are mine, but yes, I hear you.
Then on that moment, you experience liberation to act based on what feels right for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
And this stepping into, okay, the stepping into that is actually not a momentary choice. I just do it once and then I'll like step back out of it. But it's like when you see this pattern, you can step into a particular place. And I know because we've talked a long time again, but it's like, come back to like, what is it that you're afraid of particularly?
In this moment?
No, in that moment. In this moment.
And choosing the conflict.
Yeah, choosing the conflict.
Yeah, the like energy that's lost in the argument, in the fighting, in the like, I didn't do it right again. My shame.
Yeah. So you'll have to step into the shame.
Yeah.
You have to step into it, and when you step into the shame, what does that feel like?
Heavy in my chest.
Yeah.
Clothes. Right. Like.
So can I be that? Can I be the heaviness? Can I be the shame? That's what I am. For me, it's like, oh, that loser, the guy who's nothing. For me, it's like, I'm nothing. I'm like, I won't make it ever. I'm lonely. I am purposeless, useless. Can I step into that? Can I be that? Can I accept that? I'm useless. And I'm lonely.
Yeah.
And then when I step into that, you can feel it now. I can feel how now just you looking at me without anything on top of it.
Sorry to laugh. It's
uncomfortable.
Sensation.
Yeah. So it's a choice to live there. Living there. It's living there. It's not I choose it now in order to make the right choice in this moment.
No,
but
it's
it's like this has to be from where I live my life.
Yeah.
From like, for me personally, I don't know what it's for you. For you, it's like, I think they meet. I think yours and mine meet. Like your fear of rejection is ultimately a fear of like, you are helpless, powerless, and alone. And ready to die. And mine is sort of as well, because it's like a fear that I won't be accepted by a woman. I will be lost. I will be a nothing. Which leads me also to I'm alone. I won't have a friend or a helper or someone who's like giving me company and giving me external comfort. So in that place, we are the same. We have that in common. It's at the level of conditioning where we start to branch into like your conditioning and my conditioning, yours as a woman, mine as a man. But if we come back down here, there's no difference between us. We both are actually the same, except you have a different body to mine. But here we're really the same. We're one. And there's no more mask. Can you feel how the whole mind got quiet? The mind being not your brain. We can hear the mind, which is shared between you and I, rather than can hear our brain, which is individual to your body and my body. It's fine. When we are here, there's no more conflict. So can we live here in the willingness for anyone to come into our lives and leave our lives because they choose they don't approve or whatever. But we don't actually, we know that's their conditioning, whether they approve or not approve, because they're still in that conditioning game. And right now we've entered the bubble where there is no conditioning. I think we can stop here, but I think from that place we can find compassion for the person that hasn't yet stepped out of this and just see that they are playing this old game of trying to be secure, which creates their conditioning.
I still feel insecure that, like, I don't get it. That, like, you've come around and gotten to this place and you're like, see, the mind is empty and now we're in this peaceful connection. And I'm like, I don't know if I get it.
Don't get it. See, the mind wants to, like, grab it, solidify it into the image in that moment. And you have to just see that, like, that's not possible. That doesn't, like, the mind, whatever it grasps, it turns into an image.
Mm-hmm.
That it's like you've just stepped out of it and your mind is trying to restart that machine again. But if you don't get it, you have to reside in the reality of being a failure.
Mm-hmm.
So can you reside in the reality that you are a failure?
Sure. That's easy.
Right. And in doing so, when we've accepted that we are a failure and we're nothing and like all of that,
mm-hmm.
like there's this it's nothingness, right?
Mm-hmm.
In that nothingness, you actually start. Did you notice how like your perception started to open up? Do you notice how the space became bigger and includes everything around us?
I'm not sure if I noticed that, but I hear what you're saying.
I find that in this nothingness, there's everything in it. Because we are not focusing on a particular pattern, we're not focusing on the success of a particular thing, which gets our mind to like laser beam into one direction, but we become all of a sudden very aware. And inside that awareness, there's actually contains everything, and that is what enables us to like actually interact with each other in a very intelligent way. Because it's not just focused on one pattern, on the success of one pattern, or maybe let's say like 10 or 15 or 20 or 100 patterns, but it's aware to all.
Mm-hmm.
Which when you are focused on one particular thing, you might get successful in that particular area, but you will fail on every other level, which is what we feel. That's why it's like, it's so crushing, because we try harder and harder and harder, but we fail also harder and harder. Shall we pause here? We're coming into a different area now. I think it's good to stop.
Yeah.
What do you feel?
I can't come up with anything right now. Sorry.
That's okay.
How do you feel?
I think similar, and sure, I can feel how like we just touched on something that's like somewhat profound and devastating at the same time, and how like there's a vulnerability. I think I first wanted to like say like, oh, like I'm worried about you, or like I'm scared of rejection or something. I think it's actually a vulnerability.
I would agree that's vulnerable. Yeah.
And I think that's actually the thing. It's uncomfortable because we don't play here.
Yeah.
We are not living here.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about like people that will watch this and not get it. And like not how many people are not able to play here. Like you and I are like junkies for this, and we do it all the time, and we still are like, can we play there? And like think about all the people that won't make it 5 minutes into this video, you know?
Impossible. Yeah.
Like that's not why we're doing it. Of course, we're doing it for ourselves, and like we just happen to decide to record it. But like I'm not thinking a lot about that, but I'm thinking a little bit about it, and I wanted to name it. And like, yeah, I think it's vulnerable. I think that's spot on. I feel vulnerable too, and I'm like, I don't know how I feel, because like it's fucking vulnerable, and I'm like, okay, can we be done now? which is a good sign that it's vulnerable for me.
Right, we want to run away from it.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. Like, there's not going to be many people who watch it. But if like 2 or 3 people watch it and really get it, that's already amazing.
Sure. If one person does.
Yeah.
Okay. You stop it now?